welcome to Mums at the Table. You're here with Rachel and Shona.
Choosing the right school. Now, I know this is down your line of job occupation. Is it really important to choose the right school for your children? Are they going to be hindered if we don't put them in the right schools?
Yeah, I think there's definitely that possibility. You can't predict the future, but the reality is some people don't have a huge selection of schools in their area, so they've sort of got to go with what they've got. But it's something you think about, and I think it's really wise to go and talk to the school and ask them about a few things that are really important to you, you know. Where are your core values? It's important for us to have had a Christian school. Like, we want our kids to grow up in that environment, not only at home, but in their school and from their teachers. What's their bullying policy? Like, thinking about the things that are important to you and talking to them. So picking a school and the right school is important. Yeah, we did take it seriously.
And so did you have any, like, you had a checklist of things that you had to go through?
Yeah, somewhat. Like, obviously we wanted it to be somewhat close. I didn't want my kids having to travel on public transport for an hour or two just to get there and back. They're young. We wanted it to be Christian, as I said, and we went and spoke to the principal about a few things. But there's also a lot of things you can't control. And that's the reality. And so you work with your kids throughout their schooling life to say, how do we manage this? How do we deal with that?
Because what you, and I found this with my boys, what you actually start off with may not be what you end up with, because come year 10 for our youngest, he actually decided himself that he needed to leave that school because it wasn't suiting his needs. He was falling through the cracks. He wasn't going to get the scores that he wanted to go on to uni. So even though you might start with the ideal school, you may not end up there.
Well, that's right. 13 years is a long time to be so. And that's why I say it's important, because they're there for such a long time. It makes such an imprint on their life as they grow up. So it is important to think about it. Did it bother you that he changed schools?
No. No, because he's an adult at that stage, so he knew what he wanted, he knew where he was going to go as a career, and so we just went along with it. I said, I'm happy, you choose the school in the area that you want to go to. He did all the research and off he went.
Did you have a criteria when your kids started school, or you were just like, this is the local one?
No, well, we just wanted a Christian school, and our kids travelled an hour to get to it. So
right. Look, what are your criteria for sending kids to school? Does it matter, public, private? What are your thoughts? We would love to hear them. Share with us and discuss on our Facebook page.
What to do if your baby has diarrhea. Now, this is something that is hitting my home quite closely right now. It seems to be a bug that's just going around. How can we stop this gastro bug regenerating and being passed around within our families?
Okay, when we talk about diarrhea, the key thing is we need to A, stop it from spreading, and B, manage our fluids and manage hydration so that our kids don't dehydrate and then need to get taken off to hospital.
Yes.
So the key thing when it comes to stopping diarrhea from spreading is hands. We have to wash our hands. We have to be really vigilant with soap and warm water and those alcohol hand gels and all those sorts of things that keep our hands clean.
I feel like I am, like we religiously
you probably are
washing hands.
But every other kid out there probably isn't. I have a little joke that until kids are 18, they can't be relied upon to wash their hands consistently every single time. So keeping your hands clean is absolutely key in terms of stopping the spread.
Yes.
When we're talking about diarrhea in super young bubs, the first thing that we need to do is maintain their hydration. So keep an eye on their output of wet nappies. If they're getting any less, if their nappies are less than half of what they'd normally produce, or if they're less than half of what wet they would normally be, then we need to be supplementing fluid. So that can be your infant rehydration solutions. And for a super young bub, there's nothing wrong with a syringe and 5 mils of fluid every little squirt.
The hydrolytes?
That's exactly right.
They're safe?
You can even get a version called Pedialyte, which is a kids-specific version. And that's what they use in all the hospitals as well for rehydration.
So it's so important to keep our babies hydrated. So important to keep your babies... just losing all the fluids.
Well, you can dehydrate so quickly when you're a baby because you're so small. When kids get older, sometimes they can respond really well to utilising things like the hydration hydrolyte icy poles, or even just your standard fruit icy poles. You can't suck down an icy pole fast enough to vomit, to vomit it back up again. And then that will keep the fluid going through and making sure that you're replacing what you've lost.
Is there any other alternatives that mums can use if they're not wanting to, you know, give their children hydrolyte or something like that? Is it just keeping the fluids? Water, is that?
Water is great. Things like ginger-based foods, so dilute ginger beer can be a useful thing. Absolutely. And things like infants' probiotics and even children's probiotics are, again, really useful for helping the gut to recover from that illness that it's experiencing.
I'm so glad you said that, because I do give my children some probiotics.
Awesome.
Just to replace what they are not eating. You know, they're being fussy and whatnot, so I try and encourage good gut health. That's the way to go, and wash our hands.
Healthy foods for breastfeeding mums. That's our topic today. And if you like this topic, we've got so much more. Please go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, go to our Facebook page. Enjoy this topic. I'm going to enjoy it, I know, because it's very important. Amanda, hello.
Hello.
She's our dietitian and nutritionist. What are your thoughts around this? Breastfeeding mums.
Yes, well, it's really important to have a healthy and balanced diet, because you're supplying the nutrients not just for yourself but for your baby too. It's a great way to give your baby a good start in life, and we know that the composition of mum's diet is reflected in the breast milk as well.
That's interesting. So what I eat comes through the breast. Like, you don't think of that, but I think it's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, so it is important to be, eating all the right foods.
So should mums eat more? Because I think we get that idea that, oh, we can eat whatever we want because we're breastfeeding, like we should.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that in terms of what you're eating, it's not really anything different to what you would usually eat, just making sure that you're having a variety of different foods from all the food groups, so lots of fruits and vegetables, legumes, grains, nuts and seeds.
So lots of fruit and veg.
Yeah, and dairy, of course.
And is this sort of showing us, because you were saying something before about...
Yeah. So when you're breastfeeding, your nutritional needs are higher than normal. So this just gives you an idea of how much extra energy you need in the day from when you were not pregnant.
Okay, so it's not that much more.
No, it's not that much more. It's really 2 or 3 extra snacks in the day. And in actual fact, you were probably having about this much when you're pregnant. So,
anyway, so you don't really need to change.
Yeah, so your energy needs when you're breastfeeding are about the same as what they were in your final trimester of pregnancy.
So my understanding is you're saying just make sure that you're having more nutrients, basically. Make sure your food is more nutrient dense.
That's right, because you're supplying the nutrients for yourself and your baby. And do you know, I didn't know this, that your body actually prioritises the baby over yourself. So if you're not getting enough to eat, you're the one that misses out. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's important to be eating enough. It's not the time for dieting.
No. Okay, so what are your main tips? What would your go home sort of tip would be?
Okay, so have regular meals and snacks. Make sure you're eating enough. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. Make sure you're also getting enough protein too. So a good way to do this is to have a protein source at each meal. So that could be some legumes or nuts and seeds, dairy, eggs.
So having that with your snacks as well.
Yeah, so just having some protein at every meal. You also need lots of fluids. In fact, you need an extra 3 cups of fluids to replace what is used in the breast milk.
I just find you can't drink enough water during breastfeeding. I think it's so good to just get lots of water in there.
That's right. So mainly drink water rather than other drinks as well.
Thank you. That was very informative, guys. So if you want some more, please go to our website. Please go to our YouTube channel. Subscribe. Thank you for coming. We'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to Mums at the Table. I'm sitting with Rach. We're talking about the long-term effects on kids when it comes to social media, technology. What are some of those impacts?
Well, the answer is we don't know yet.
It's still early? Still early days?
I mean, in a sense, it is still early days. If you think about it, the smartphone or iPhone only brought out their iPhone in 2007, and we don't really know the long-term impact, but we are seeing that the National Institute of Health in America has begun a study with 11,000 9- and 10-year-olds, and they're going to follow them for the next decade.
So rest assured they are starting the studies.
Yes. I mean, that may not be that
exciting for us? Or?
No, not even exciting. It may not make parents of 9 and 10-year-olds right now feel better because they're having to parent in this kind of vague, ambiguous stage. But we will see more data coming out about what some of the impact is.
So tell us about this study. What is going on, Rach?
Yeah, so they have over 2,000 twins and triplets taking part, and as a twin mom, you would kind of understand this, taking part in the study so they can see, you know, 2 kids, same DNA, not same DNA, but same genetic makeup, but in the same environment, but maybe technology is impacting them in different ways. So that's interesting, and it's also, they're seeing that some kids who have are using technology maybe more than 7 hours a day.
7 hours a day?
Yes.
Who is putting their kid in front of a screen for longer than 7 hours a day?
No judgment.
No judgment at all.
No judgment.
Seriously.
If you have your kid in front of the screen for 7 hours a day, then no judgment. But they are seeing, come on, Pete. No judgment. No judgment. So they're seeing that the thinning of the cortex around their brain, what they're saying is sometimes this happens as people are aging, but they don't know what it means yet, because that's the thing with the study. They're still gathering data.
Yes.
We do see another study out of the University of Pennsylvania, much shorter, only for 1 month with college students, and they were seeing that when students reduce their time on, you know, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat to 30 minutes a day, they were seeing lower depression and loneliness rates. Because it's interesting, they're doing studies and seeing that kids are engaging less in premarital sex and in drinking and drugs, but then we're seeing an increase in loneliness and depression. So they're trying to figure out what's happening with all of this data.
One thing that's really concerning, I think, when we have our kids online all the time is they don't know how to connect in real life because they're so used to being online and chatting online that when they do meet people, it's awkward.
Yeah.
So I think that's a definite, like, you don't need to do research on that. We just
you don't need someone to tell you that you need to have that face-to-face interaction
so important.
To practice the face-to-face interaction to be good at it. Yeah. So I think that as parents, I guess the bottom line is, what can we do about all of this? I think we can take a common sense approach and just, obviously it's not healthy to have your kid on, you know, online the same length of time you'd be at a job for, you know, for 8 hours a day. So
they're not getting paid for it, so there's no benefit.
So I think moderation is key with everything, and we know that even before the researchers come out with their findings.
Well, I know there is statistics that say 0 to 2-year-olds no screen time at all, and if they are after 2, I think it is about half an hour or something like that. But I think it pays to put boundaries in place. You take a common sense approach, as you said. Take a common sense approach. That is the bottom line, y'all. Take that common sense approach.
So they say a family that plays together stays together. How do you build meaningful memories in your family? Is this something you did with your kids growing up? Were you intentional about it?
Definitely not intentional. But if I was to look back on it, I would probably say it wasn't meal times because they were a fight. I think, but most of our extended family comes together around food because we are a food family.
Yeah, you are a food family. I can see that. Like, meal times is a bit challenging when they're younger. I don't know if you call it meaningful. It can be quite comical. But as you get older, food time really does become a beautiful sort of building moment.
Yeah, and even more so now because the boys are older, I'm actually cooking in the kitchen with them. Oh. And that's really sweet. And Gary tried to cook with me the other day and we had charred halloumi, so...
Charred. Something I did growing up with my family is we were big campers, so we would always sort of go out, and I remember that. And I would love to do that with my kids. We haven't done it as much, but being intentional, right? That's what we say. Yeah, so that was a great building sort of family camaraderie together moment for us. It was good.
I sort of, whenever you say to me building memories, I think about scrapbooking and photo albums and things like that, like, you know, a snapshot of my life. If I was to look back at it, what would those snapshots be? And it's camping with the kids, it's the, you know, spending time walking in the park with the dog and the kids, and
it's the time together, it's the quality time. But I like that you mentioned photos, because capturing those memories is just as important as well, because my kids love pouring through our albums and looking when they're little and all the little things we've sort of done together. Like, they get such joy out of that.
Yeah, and it helps them build memories. Like, so, okay, here's a question for you. What things are you putting in place for your children as memories that they can take on into their families? You know, what habits or traditions?
I love that as they're getting older, we can do some more of those things. So every Sunday we sort of do family games, like we play board games together, or Saturday night, or, you know, stuff like that. We just sort of, because that's something you can do on a weekly basis. When you get time for holidays, it's always at the beach with us. And, you know, we're trying to teach our kids surfing and a few other things just to create some of those memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're highlights for us.
Yeah, that's good.
What about you?
For us, it was always Friday night, because as Sabbath keepers, we always kept Friday night as really special. So it was always a really special dinner, and then we'd sit and we'd chat and do Bible studies and things like that. But yeah, it's those sorts. For me, it's just food and it's family and church.
So have your kids carried on some of those Friday night traditions? Like, do they feel sort of sacred about that time because you've made it such a memory?
Yes, they do. Yeah. And I spend a lot of time praying that they will continue to do that, because it's very special to us.
Yeah, I love that. That's a beautiful thing, and we should all be sort of praying over our kids. But that is all we've got time for today. We are on YouTube, Facebook. We've got a Mums Facebook group page you can join if you want to be supported by other mums. But that is it for us today. We will see you next time. Bye for now.